All right, well, thanks everybody. On behalf of the New Ulm Human Rights Commission, I am excited to welcome you to our very first Living Without Limits panel. And we're excited to have 6 guests with us here today. And just as a reminder, the goal of the Human Rights Commission is to make sure that everybody, all the citizens in our community, have equal opportunity in business, credit, education, employment, housing, public accommodation, and public services. So the Human Rights Commission is really about promoting equal access to everything that we have in the city of New Ulm. And so the Education Committee, part of the Human Rights Commission, came up with this idea as a way of kind of expanding our scope of education beyond just thinking about students in school to community education. And we realize that we don't know what we don't know, and so if we can bring people together that are living with certain conditions that can speak to their lived experiences, that we would better understand maybe what we need to do as a community to ensure equal participation in the community. So I'm really grateful that we have our panelists here today, and I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves. We have a couple questions that they've received ahead of time so that they know a little bit what to expect, but this really is just a informal conversation, just providing your own experience and expertise living in New Ulm. So thank you so much for being here, and thanks for those in the audience who are attending and people watching at home. I'll let you start by introducing yourself, Bob. We'll just go down the line.
I'm Bob Scherlinger. I'm not blind, but I'm married to my wife, Bonnie.
And I'm Bonnie Scherlinger, and I am totally blind.
Monica Bubals.
Colton Reinhardt.
Hi, I'm Ashley Reinhardt. I'm the mom of Colton, who, like you said, is blind.
And I'm Carl Zeidler, and I am blind.
Well, thank you so much. Well, we'll start at Carl's end. So Carl's also on the Human Rights Commission, so he's had a lot of input into the creation of this activity, and I really appreciate all of his insights and ideas about this. Carl, how has your diagnosis affected you, your friends, and your family? And what challenges have resulted from your vision loss, such as your physical environment, your mobility, family dynamics, et cetera? Has it changed your living situation? All of that.
My diagnosis of my eye disease called choroideremia came in my 4th decade, and I was informed that it would get make me totally blind at some point, but it would take a number of years for that to occur, but in the interim it would be decreasingly lower vision. And so at the time I was employed as a police officer, and I knew that that position wasn't going to be open to me as the days went on, so I went back to school and changed careers, and so in that way it changed a lot in my life from a job I really enjoyed, but also it opened up a new path for me, and it gave me another job that I really enjoyed in human resources. So I was fortunate in that regard, but it, in terms of how that affected other aspects of my life, it certainly changed things as my eyesight got worse around the home, and some of the things I was able to do and not do as my eyesight continued to decline. And I don't know that my social life changed much. We live in a community this size, and I knew a lot of people through my work on the police department, and they were all extremely supportive, as well as my employer, the city. So I was grateful for that, and I was able to secure another position with the city in a different field that didn't require the kind of work that law enforcement requires. I don't know of any other, it certainly changed things. I was, driving all those years up until the time that I was not driving, and so that was a big change, and is certainly loss of that independence and mobility one has with driving. It's pretty significant and kind of a life changer, and it certainly could cause a lot of depression and sadness in some people, and it does, and it did me for a while. And it was something I needed to overcome and rely on my wife, Sandy, for her support and willingness to periodically take me where I needed to go. So those are some of the things that affected me when I got my diagnosis.
Thank you so much, Carl. How about you, Colton? Do you want me to read it again? The question? Okay.
Maybe I'll start.
Yeah.
Colton is 10. He is a fifth grader at New Ulm Middle School, and he was born with a condition called Leber's congenital amaurosis. So it is the most common form of childhood blindness, and it occurs in the retina in the back of the eye. He is a Braille reader and a cane user. So our story is just a little bit different because Colton has never been able to see. So we know no differently in our home, and we grow and learn with Colton as he gets older. So for us, it was more figuring out the education system, everything from early childhood interventions to the special education system within the school. And then for our family, my husband and I had some job changes that just made it a little bit easier for us to be more available to be with the kids, and so Colton could receive the services that are helping make him successful. So Colton, anything else about your eye condition?
So, like Mom said, I'm 10. My name's Colton, of course. I think we've already gone over that. So, yeah, I have Leber's congenital amaurosis, or in simpler terms, LCA. I do have decent light perception, but other than that, I am completely blind. And, like, I can't see colored light at all, of course. I can just see lights. But, yeah, that's, of course, what light perception is, so I think I should stop talking now.
You can keep talking. What's your bedroom like? How do you have that set up?
Pretty small. I got some stuff on my wall, but we can save what that is for question 3, so.
It hasn't affected your sense of humor. That's still working just fine.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Colton. How about you, Monica?
Well, I guess I have a different story too. I was 6 months old when they discovered that I had a vision problem, and so mine is aniridia, and it's a genetic disease that can be from one of the parents go down from when the child has 50%. Well, I was that lucky one, had that, the 50%. But my father had just one eye like that, and it affected both my eyes. So from young on, 6 months old or whatever you want to say, I had this visual impairment, and aniridia does cause a lot of stuff, and because it is a rare thing. It's not a common thing, and so I have glaucoma, I have had cataracts, I've had corneal transplants, I've had a lot of eye surgeries. I've been lucky in my whole lifetime, and as Colton, I did struggle through kindergarten through 12th grade. They didn't have all the tools and research stuff that they have now, so I'm hoping that Colton has a better opportunity and more opportunity to do well in school, because you do have the, what they would call bullying now or whatever. But I believe that really made me stronger and gave me the determination. I did go on to college. I did go to be an x-ray technician. I did that for 40-some years within New Ulm here. But yeah, it's a challenge, but you get through it, and it does make you stronger and so forth.
Thank you very much. School's been better. That's good.
More on that later.
More of that later. Okay. Thanks, Monica. Bonnie?
I lost my sight when I was 25 years old from complications of type 1 diabetes. And up to that point, I had 20/20 vision. But I guess for me, it did change my life quite drastically. I was newly married 1 year. We had bought a home, which we still reside in. And I had a job I loved. I was a secretary. I loved my job. And, of course, I lost my job. And now it's at home. I'm 25 years old. My husband's at work. What do I do? And I could not learn to read Braille because I also deal with neuropathy. I have limited feeling in both my fingertips and my feet. So cane travel, too, I'm not good at cane travel. I zigzag all over the place. And I have a friend who also had neuropathy, and he said for every block he walked, it was like 3 blocks walking. So I'm not good with cane travel. My husband has been so gracious. Wherever we go, we're usually together, and he offers me an elbow, which really helps me. We had a child. I have never seen our daughter. I did that. Bob's at work. I did all the work. People are shocked. I do all the housework. I did the cooking, everything in our home, just like I did when I had 20/20. Many years later, Monica's talking about tools. If I would have had the tools that we have today, I would never have lost my job because I have a program on my computer called JAWS, and it speaks to me as I'm typing. And luckily for me, I was a very good typist. That was my job. I never had a problem with JAWS. And after 2 hours of teaching me to use JAWS and downloading the program, I was sending out emails and writing documents, and and a lot of people wish I weren't because I was doing a little bit too much. And the tools, even with the diabetes, the tools today that we have with diabetes is unreal for a type 1 diabetic. I always tell people, if your child has diabetes, I'm so sorry to hear that. But the good thing is it's now. Today we have insulin pumps, we have pens, and we have glucometers, which I did not have. Well, as I said, I was 11. I am now 74 years old. So I've had type 1 for 63 years, and I'm so grateful that I'm still here. And I'm so grateful for all the modern technology, both in blindness and diabetes.
Thank you so much. So how long have you been married?
51 years.
51 years
All right, congratulations on that.
so far.
So far, still
We'll see what happens
51 and counting. Oh boy. Well, we'll start. I guess I'll start with Monica, and I'll just kind of change the order a little bit. Is there anything that either improved or didn't change? What hasn't changed since your vision loss has gotten more progressive? Anything you can think of?
Well, my hearing has changed. That's my biggest fear right now is I'm not ready to be Helen Keller just quite yet. So, I'm working on that too. But I guess I did just say that, like I said before, I've had numerous surgeries, but it wasn't until the last resort type of thing. I did have the opportunity to, there's only a few doctors in the U.S. that do the artificial corneas. And so I was, lucky enough to have that procedure done, and it has helped, but I did get a detached retina, so, I kind of depend upon just the one eye, but it'll be okay.
All right. Thank you. Ashley and Colton, I'm sure there's a lot of things that, you have an older brother. There's probably a lot of things that you do that are just the same as your older brother does. What are some of those things?
In a positive way.
In a positive.
Well, let's just say that,
You're very typical siblings.
yeah, we can just say that. More one-sided.
Okay. So Colton and his brother, he has a 12-year-old brother, are very much siblings. And again, with Colton only being 10, we haven't really had any improvements or things that haven't changed. Just for us, it's opened up new opportunities to things that we maybe wouldn't have had access to or even known about. Previously, we've met so many wonderful people that are a part of our life that we probably would have never crossed paths with. We also give kudos to the New Ulm Public School System, where Colton is in 5th grade. We've had great success in them being supportive. Colton has a Braille teacher that he works with, also a Braille list, so any materials that sighted students in his class are getting, the Braille list takes them and accommodates them, putting them into Braille, or making them accessible. And then he also has a cane teacher teaching him mobility skills. So we've had much luck with our public school system being very supportive of that.
And I seem to recall seeing Colton on the front page of the paper. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So there's a yearly competition called the Braille Challenge. It was Minnesota's first year in 2025. So, yeah, it's first through 12th graders, and this will be my first year doing the Braille Challenge of being a sophomore, which means charts and graphs and speed and accuracy
Do you want to tell him
instead of spelling.
how well you did? Or
I was
how
going to
far you
say,
made it with
I don't think he
I
was on the
got
front
to
page
the
because he
Braille
finished
Challenge
last.
finals, and I got freshman 3rd place. Another blind person from Minnesota, Elizabeth, who lives in Prior Lake, got 2nd place and got excellence in spelling. I got excellence in reading comprehension.
Congratulations.
Yep, and thanks. Hopefully, I'll be making it again in 2026.
All right, we'll be watching for you and cheering for you.
Thanks.
That's amazing. Okay, Bonnie, do you want to talk anything that hasn't changed? I mean, you sound like you've been doing a lot of the same things that you were doing before you lost your vision.
I did, but many things, like I talked about the JAWS. Up to that point, I had no access to not being able to read Braille. The only way I could actually read a book was on a record, on a little phonograph from Library for the Blind in Faribault. And then came along the cassettes, and then finally now they're all digital. And I love the library here, downloading from the Libby program. It's an awesome source of reading books. But like I said, many things have changed because now not only the computer, the phone, the iPhone, everybody who has an Apple iPhone, there's a setting on there, it's accessible to anyone, do the voiceover. And the phone will speak to me. Now, there's a lot of hand gestures you have to learn, but I love my iPhone. And again, many people wish I didn't have it because I'm on Facebook too much. And but it's opened up a whole new world to me. My iPhone, I can take pictures of something, and AI will describe the picture to me.
Wow.
And I am now in the process of looking at purchasing some glasses that will actually, again, they'll do the same thing my phone will do. I'll take a picture, and it'll describe the picture to me. So AI, now you can't always trust AI because it will tell you things that are in the room that I know are not. Like one night, Bob had gone to bed, and I'm fooling around with the phone, and I take a picture, and it describes our sofa, the table in front of it, the plant on there, and then it says, a man in white suit standing in the corner. And I think, all right, either Bob's in his underwear here, or Elvis Presley just stopped in to say hello. So you cannot always trust AI, and they warn you, do not use AI for navigation purposes. But the technology out there is just awesome. And anybody who is blind, please contact one of us. Ask us of all the different tools that are out there available for the blind. Because, again, same thing with juvenile diabetes. If you're going to get juvenile diabetes, now's the time to get it. And in fact, Bob and I are Lions. We're working on finding a cure for type 1, and we will get there. I probably won't see the cure, but I know the children today will. And same thing with the blindness. There's so much tools out there that can aid you. You don't have to sit on the couch once you turn blind. There's a whole world out there for you. You can navigate around the darkness. You can live in the darkness. You can find joy in the darkness.
Are you sure your house isn't haunted?
Well, maybe I'd have somebody to talk to, and Bob is gone. but that was funny. Also, it told me one time I'm in our daughter's room, and she has a dresser that has arms that around what do you call it, around the mirror that go out, and the mirror's oval. And it told me a deer was in the room. And
Thought it was antlers,
I know
huh?
for sure there was no deer. So again, AI can be wrong. They
Not
think they're right,
flawless.
but they can be wrong.
Fair enough. Fair enough. How about you, Carl? Anything that didn't change or improved for you?
Well, things that didn't change were I still enjoyed being outdoors, working around in the yard as best I could. I would use orientators out in the yard so I knew where I was, but I liked the outdoors. And I can still mow lawn. But if I follow the edge of the driveway and the sidewalks, I can mow a lot of lawn, and I enjoy doing that. The noise of the mower drowns out everything around you, including voices. And I still enjoyed reading, so it was a different type of reading, like Monica mentioned. And Bonnie, e-books are a wonderful technology, and certainly our electronic devices are great assists in keeping us all reading. And the literature is just wonderful. Of the old books and even the new books are just great. And that's a wonderful asset. And I continued employment as my eyesight faded and I went into a new career field. I think Bonnie mentioned JAWS. I had a similar system on my computer as I got further along in age, and my eyesight continued to fade. It was a wonderful asset, and it had this feature that probably we all know about called voice to text. And I never realized how much faster that is than me typing. And so that was a wonderful gift for me. So that's, pretty much, I enjoyed being outside and reading, and was able to continue work. So those things actually stayed the same for me.
Thank you. So, Carl, just going off of mowing the lawn as being one of your activities, what other hobbies, leisure activities, things that you enjoy doing? Have you had to modify much of that? I see you walking acre all the time, so I know you're out walking a lot.
Well, some of my activities that I enjoy are recreational walking, as well as walking downtown to get together with folks I used to work with, and engaging in conversation over coffee, but never really resolving anything. And you're right, I enjoyed dogs. We had dogs as pets in our home for many years, and when I started to lose my sight, I became cane mobile, used that for a while, and then I was accepted into a guide dog school out in California, and trained with my first dog when I was 63, and I've had a guide dog ever since, and this current guide dog is my second, and they're just wonderful assets. And my wife always says, go out and walk around for a while. So I do. But it's great, and it's fun to get around town with the dog, and dogs are great conversation starters, so you are able to engage with people that you may not otherwise get a chance to do so. Certainly cane mobility is a wonderful thing, and I appreciated the ability to use that, but frankly, having a guide dog serves a great purpose, and he is a wonderful guide and gets me safely around where I want to go. And like I said, it's great because people will approach you, I think, more readily with the dog than they might otherwise do if you didn't have the dog. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I think Aker was the most popular person at the welcoming week that we had. He got a lot of
Yeah.
attention at welcoming week. Everybody wanted to say hi.
By
to
the way,
Aker.
he's very photogenic.
He is extremely, extremely. How about you, Colton? This is question 3. What do you like to do?
So I used to be more interested in something called Bop It. Then I was still interested in that, but I was also interested in like toy swords and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm not as interested in stuff. I still am, but now I'm more interested in the thing that's hanging all over the walls of my room, Nerf blasters.
No.
And we do need more storage pretty soon. And yeah, I also like swimming, jumping on the trampoline, that kind of stuff.
Fighting with your brother?
Yeah, I guess.
Thank you.
Okay, you're right.
How about you, Monica?
What's that?
What do you like to do for leisure, hobbies?
Well, I actually made a list.
Oh, good.
Swimming, fishing, theater, concerts, bingo, playing cards, shopping, bowling, photo books on Shutterfly, NARN Group, National Federation of the Blind Organization, the Low Vision Project Coordinator, which is right behind us, and whatever else comes along, I'm always ready. Nothing really can stop me.
That's amazing.
Playing bingo is one of probably top of the list, not way on the top. But I like to use the monitors. You don't even have to see it because it'll say bingo, bingo, bingo. And playing cards, there's about, probably a dozen different types of playing cards. Swimming has probably been the hardest thing because I can't go underwater anymore, mainly because of my artificial corneas and my retina detachment. But I still compensate. I just walk in the water now. So that's probably my favorite thing to do. But like I say, shopping that is getting a little harder. But I don't need as much stuff as I used to, or I don't think I do anymore. So, but I do use shopping assistance, and that works. So. But other than that, I try to do whatever I can and keep doing it, and yeah.
You have a lot more hobbies than me. I'm impressed. Okay, Bonnie, what do you like to do?
Oh, it varies, but Monica mentioned shopping. I remember when QVC came on TV. Oh boy, I was their best shopper, their best customer, and I'll never forget the one time. I often like to listen to the videos because sometimes if you order a red sweater, it can be orange-based or blue-based. I want to know what color is the red. So one time I'm walking through the room and I hear, oh, this is a sweater I really need. And I went to my computer and I could not play the video. And I tried and tried and tried. I could not hear the video. Bob came home and he says, well, you just click on here. Well, he's visual. And they had changed the format on their website. And I was so angry. How could they do this? I called them up and I said, do you realize a lot of customers are blind and they would like access to your videos? Oh, we'll change it. 2 weeks go by, nothing's done. So I contacted Services for the Blind and I contacted Blind Inc. up in the cities. They said, well, there's nothing you can do. You need a sighted person. Well, you're talking a stubborn Norwegian. I bet I spent about a month and a half. I finally hacked into their system, and I could watch the video. So I wrote to all 3 places that I inquired about this, and I said, this is what a blind person has to do. This is QVC. This is what your customers need to know. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And you know what? Within 2 days, they changed it back to the original format. But I'm very determined. I will find a way. There is always a way. Now, I will retract that because sometimes you need somebody visual to help you. But I'm always the one who says, don't ask for help. Try it first. And then try again, and then ask for help if you cannot do it. But now I have on Facebook, they have FB Marketplace. And I've always loved antiques. And so let me tell you, if they have a vintage something that have shipping option, it's sold. Coming to my house. Poor Bob, we should be downsizing, and I'm adding. But I love music. I've always been a great big music lover. any type, any genre. I love music. Whether I'm sitting in our living room, in fact, I was playing big band today, music, and some blues music. So music and just communications with people. I love being around people. I've always been a people person. In fact, Bob and I are always the last people to leave because Bob was a shy person when I met him. I changed the poor man. Now he's always around talking to people, but
And Bonnie's a shy one now.
right. But I still blindness hasn't really changed what I love. I love reading, like I mentioned, the Livy program, and then the Library for the Blind. I always was an avid reader. I tell people I probably read more now because I'm reading as I'm doing housework. I'm reading as I'm doing other things. Folding clothes. In fact, I got some laundry to do, so Libby and I will be in my Norwegian sweatshop tonight, folding some more clothes. But nothing's really changed my life all that much, except for, with the exception, like Carl mentioned, the freedom of a car. Now I can no longer go where I want to go, when I want to go, and do what I want to do. So that's created a bit of a problem, but you work around it. So I guess my life really hasn't, my interests are still basically the same. Although, I have to retract that again. I loved artwork, and that went by the side. But there's other forms of artwork too. You know, a person should probably check into sculpturing, things like that.
Oh, thank you. So the goal of the Human Rights Commission, as I said, was to ensure full participation in our community, regardless of protected class. So race, gender, disability, et cetera. Has there been anything that's kept you from fully participating in our community? So something physical, social, a practical limitation? I don't know, Ashley and Colton, has there been anything like that you found?
We would love to see more opportunities available for kids with any type of disability. Kudos goes out to New Ulm Figure Skating and the Turner Gymnastics Academy. They both have adaptive programs for kids with any type of disability that we are fully active in as well. But we'd love to see more opportunities, whether, through Park and Rec or things like that. I know there is the adaptive recreational services that seems like a wonderful group, but it's really geared more towards older kids or late teens and into adulthood. So we don't have too many opportunities in our community for children with any type of disability, not necessarily blindness specific.
Thank you. That's helpful. Carl, how about you?
What, say the question once
Has there
more.
been anything that has kept you from fully participating in our community? Like any physical or social or practical limitations? I know one thing you've mentioned in Human Rights Commission is bus riding schedules in Braille was one thing. I don't know if there's anything else like that.
I haven't really experienced anything that I felt was directed, that inhibited my ability to participate. Although I will mention that the audible signals at traffic lights are a wonderful asset, but sometimes the signal is of such low decibel that it's hard to hear where the post is.
Carl, that's on our list of things.
Oh.
Kristen, are you writing this stuff down?
And I've talked to the engineer from the state that lives in New Ulm who adjusts those. At least he did. I don't know if it's still the same person, but it's fortunate that the guide dog is trained that he can, when we get to the intersection, I can command him to find the post, and he can put his nose to the post, so I get there. But it is if the traffic volume is high and, large trucks and loud cars, it, kind of muffles the sound of the audible signal, which isn't all that loud to begin with. So that's one thing. It's can be nice if it's increased. And They might have more of those signals around town in different places, but they only seem to put them where traffic lights are, and I guess maybe that's the safety concept. I wish some companies and providers, retail or otherwise, when you call in their voice tree, would give you a voice option rather than trying to find a digit on your phone. One of the local pharmacies has added that now to their phone system where they'll, if you want something, you can press 1 or say something. So I think more companies could do that. That would be very helpful to me anyway. And I suspect other blind folks that use smartphones. But I don't really know that I've experienced anything that would or has prevented me from fully participating. Once in a while, you'll run into a restaurant that raises their eyebrows with the dog, but only a couple have I encountered in the last couple years that were reluctant to let us in until we informed them about the law. So, those are some of the things. Some people just don't have the message yet.
Yep, that's the point of this. So, yeah.
It's the law.
Yep. It is the law, yes. Thank you. Monica, how about you?
Well, I've been involved in school board. When I was thinking about this, the question, I've been involved in the school board, church councils, NARN, the library, but finding resources within the community, I believe, really needs some attention. We have a lot of festivals and events here in New Ulm, but, I'm not aware of any kind of guide service or activities that are offered during or within these events. I'm kind of talking about the last one, Oktoberfest, going downtown. If I was to go by myself downtown, I wouldn't know what those food trucks are. I wouldn't know what those vendors all are. I like to go snowshoeing, but the last time I went, I almost had to have a helicopter come and rescue because we got lost. I just wish there was someplace within the chamber that there may be, and people aren't aware of this because they probably have never needed something like this. But it'd be nice if we could somehow get more volunteers involved with the community to maybe through the chamber say, and I'm not just talking about blindness right now, because when you have blindness, you most of the time have it's just not blindness alone. So you say you have a senior citizen that can't walk from the city parking lot to Center Street where the activities were, like if I'm referring to Oktoberfest. It'd be nice that they would have maybe a golf cart ready to, transport. Of course, again, you would have to know in advance that someone would need this service, but I think it's something that could be looked at. Because, for me, it would be nice to just say, okay, I have just someone share a few, maybe an hour with me to help me, what the route is, what's available, just to enjoy it more if you didn't have someone else. And I just think it's something that could be looked at. Because it would enhance, going to the theater, knowing that there's a set of headphones to be able to, they're going to be able to tell me what's going on in the dead spots of that movie or whatever. There's a lot of things available, but I think our community could probably be enhanced more if there was more outreach of different services or resources, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. This is all very, very helpful and very in line with what we're doing at the commission. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. Bonnie, Bob, anything from you guys that you've noticed?
Not that I can think of. We've always participated in all the concerts, the community concerts, and we go a lot of concerts, and here in New Ulm. But I can't really think of anything that has prohibited me from joining or participating. Can you, Bob?
Well, I might make a few comments about being the spouse,
Yes, yes, please.
about the human seeing-eye dog. Luckily for Bonnie, luckily for me, I'm still active and I can drive. And, you know, I think compared to a lot of families, I think for a lot of families, the lady of the house does the shopping. And, well, that's what I do, because it's more convenient to me, because I can drive. It's just that simple. Somehow the AI and all these people haven't figured out how to make, let people that are blind drive.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming.
We've seen
I
it.
tell you what, we might have the first driverless car in town with Bonnie behind the wheel when that comes.
Absolutely.
I've learned, I think, personally, I've learned patience. You know, I think when we were first married, if I was in the living room and I heard a crash in the kitchen, I would get up and, you know, what happened, you know? No, when Bonnie needs help, she'll ask for help. I think it'd be like, I think any of us, if every time we dropped something, or every time we did something or made a noise.
And the only person who's ever broken my dinnerware, I'm sitting right next to him.
I was just talking about patience. But I think you learn not to hover over someone like Bonnie. You let, if they need help, they'll ask for help. Because how would we all feel if every time we drop something, someone behind would say, "Can I help you? Can I help you?" It would drive us all nuts, and blind people are no different. So you learn that when Bonnie needs help, she'll ask for help. And
My funniest story is one day we had an electrical storm, and our power went out. And I'm making dinner. Bob comes in the kitchen running, looking for a flashlight, and he comes in the room, and all he sees are these flames because I cook with gas. And he's, "Oh my gosh, a fire!" And he thinks, "Well, wait a minute, it's like this for her at 2 o'clock on a sunny day,
Yeah.
you know, in the afternoon." And never bothered me. I didn't skip one step. I, prepared the dinner. I set the table, and we had dinner by candlelight. We found a candle. But like Bob says, I hear clunks with him too when he's in the kitchen, and it doesn't bother me at all. But it's just like I said before. Now in the last couple of years after my transplant, I've had some medical issues and severe arthritis, and Bob has helped in the kitchen. But up to that point, I did all the cooking, everything that I guess. I really can't think of anything that stopped me from doing it, with the exception, like Carl mentioned before, driving.
And driving's
That's
I mean,
the
because
biggest problem.
when you lose your ability to drive, you've lost your freedom. You just can't, if Bonnie's home alone and she's baking something, she just can't hop in the car, run out and get something, she's got to rely on me. And I think one thing that Bonnie brings up a lot is that when if you're a sighted person, or any person really, and you're approaching a blind person who's obviously blind, please don't say, "Guess who?" I know you're good at recognizing voices, but guess who? No, come up to a person, introduce yourself, by name. And that's so helpful because, yes, Bonnie's good at recognizing voices, but not everybody. And so I think that's the big thing I see is that we have friends and they mean well. But they'll play that little game, and of course now it's up to Bonnie to try to guess. And so, "Man, you know me, you know my voice." No. Just walk up to him and say, "I'm Mr. Joel Schmoll. Nice to see you, Bonnie." I think that really helps.
I've given speeches to Cub Scouts here in New Ulm about blindness, and that's one thing I always bring up. And I say, speak directly to the blind person. Address yourself. Never speak to the person they're with. And I've had that happen at restaurants where they will say, "Does she like cream in her coffee?"
Yeah, the
Well,
waitress is asking me.
Yeah.
Wow, as if she's deaf.
That's a little sore spot with me. I can speak for myself. I have my own mind. I always say, if you close your eyes and you sit down in a chair, you have not lost your ability to think. You don't treat me like I have an IQ of room temperature. I'm beyond that. I'm above that. Same thing for anybody in a wheelchair. Don't look down at a person in a wheelchair and treat them like they're they're somebody who is not capable of thinking and making their own decisions. Anybody who has any kind of disability, treat them with respect, speak directly to them.
Well, that's the perfect segue into the next question, which was, what's one question or comment you are sick of hearing? So we kind of, if you have anything to add, Bonnie.
Well, there again with the diabetes too. A lot of people say, well, what happened? Did you eat too much candy? No. You cannot get type 1 diabetes from eating too much candy. It's an autoimmune disease. And I give speeches about that too, how we are going to find a cure. And believe me, we will get to that cure. But I think it's important as a blind community to educate people. When people ask you questions, show them. It's a teaching moment. One time I was shopping at Hallmark, and my friend was reading the cards to me. And so I selected a card. I went up to the counter to pay for it, and I hear this music. It happened to be by an artist that I like. And I said, oh, is this a O'Neill Brothers? And she said, yes, it is. And it's a new Christmas CD they put out. And I said, what songs are on there? She hands me the CD, and I said, would you read the song? And she said, well, can't you read them? I said, well, I'm blind. People don't realize a white cane is, you see a person with a white cane, that's not for stability. That's an indicator that the person has visual problems. But it's amazing how many people don't realize that. And she said, well, when you paid for your card, she said, you gave me the exact amount. She said, how did you do that? And I showed her how I fold my dollars and the coins, some have serrated edges, some are smooth. It's a teaching moment. So I think it's up to us as blind people to just slow down, don't get too excited, and just use it as a teaching moment.
Thank you. How about you, Monica? Something you're sick of hearing?
A little bit. I won't say that I'm sick of it, but I am a rehab teacher and for people with vision loss. And I do teach Braille, I teach mobility, I do job coaching, I do in-home daily living skills, et cetera, et cetera. In these groups of usually seniors, it's like, well, how do you see? What do you see? And a lot of times the adult children, they come and ask me, well, why is it my mom can see that, but she can't see my face? Or it's like you never want to compare people's vision losses or blindness. I lump it all together because environment makes so much difference. If it's dark outside, forget it. Then I am completely blind. But I mean, environment, if it's bright, if it's dim, if the sun is out, if the sun is shining on the snow, or whatever, environment makes a difference. And with older folks, like with macular degeneration, which is up and coming, it's like almost a worldwide thing that's going on. Everybody's getting it, it seems like. People only have their peripheral vision, and they don't have that central vision, so that, no, they maybe did see that whatever on the floor, but they couldn't see their child's face. It's just, that's kind of what is hard for me. People have said to me, and I had everything from holding back, well, did you try glasses? And I said, I wanted to say, no, I didn't think of that, but they mean well, they really do, but it's like, that's one of the things that, people want to know what you can see, but it's too hard to explain. Like, yeah, I can see, but I've never seen a bird in a tree. You can't really explain blindness, you can't explain low vision, you can't, people understand 20/20 vision, and they understand complete darkness. They don't understand that in-between stuff that a lot of people do struggle with, and that's what's hard, and that's why you don't ever want to compare people's vision, just like you don't want to compare people's jobs, what they do, because the stress levels are different and whatever jobs they do. But blindness is just one of those things that is hard to compare. And so don't even try.
Thank you. How about you, Colton? Anything you're sick of hearing?
just people being like overly helpful. I understand why they do it, and I know they mean well, but I mean, even when I tell them that if I need help, I'll ask for it 17 times an hour. It just never seems to stop, and it's kind of annoying. You?
I really have to echo what Bonnie and Bob said about if Colt and I are out together, they ask me the questions that really should be directed to Colt, and it's like he's right next to me. Ask him yourself. So he's fully capable of answering the questions himself too. And even as Monica said too early on, we'd get the questions of, well, if you get Colton glasses, can't he see then? So a little more complicated than that.
And if somebody continuously asks you and then reply and then asks me, don't be surprised if I reply with a fresh bout of sarcasm.
Probably. Probably.
You're funny. All right, Carl, anything you're sick of hearing?
Well, I'm not sick of it. I'm a pretty patient person, but I get a lot, can I pet your dog? And as much as you want to, allow folks to pet dogs, because dogs are that kind of an animal that attract attention, the answer obviously is no, you can't pet the dog. That's distracting from what he's supposed to be doing, and that's guiding me safely around. And sometimes I think it's my fault. I haven't gotten a sign yet for his handle that says, do not pet, I'm working. But I had one of those on my other guide dog, and a young child he's not a young child, a young boy at church said, well, he knows art so well that that sign doesn't apply to me. But we overcame that. But I think I've experienced it when we're sometimes in restaurants where the waitress or waiter will ask my wife, or she'll, on my behalf, tell them what I want to eat. I'm pretty capable of doing that. I'm surprised sometimes that she does it, but I think since she thinks it's easier just to say it on my behalf, but I think we're working on that. But I really haven't encountered a persistent issue where I've been, offended by something. And kind of like what Colton said about people who aren't overly kind that want to do something for you, you understand that they're trying to be helpful. But sometimes if, you say that, oh, that's okay, we can do this, they sometimes persist in asking, and sometimes say, okay, well, go ahead. Why fight it?
You feel so strongly about it, right?
Yeah,
Just do
I mean,
it.
it is an issue, and I think people are that way only because they think I can't do things on my own anymore, and I can. And but people have that kind spirit and want to do that. So where I can, when I can, I'll say, okay, that's fine. But generally, Acre and I are pretty independent.
Yeah, thank you. Bonnie, if you could change anything in the community or any community resource to make living with blindness easier, what would it be?
Just education. I was speaking before about traveling with a white cane, and I remember when I first got my training, and I wasn't very good at it, so a few years later, I asked if I could have some more training. And they came back, and I'll never forget the instructor. We're on Garden Street, and the traffic is going, and they would not stop. And she said, stick out your cane a little bit more so they can see it. And I stuck it out. I said, they're not going to stop. She said, but they're supposed to stop. Well, guess what? Nobody stopped. And she said, this is unbelievable. She said, I guess you better not cross Garden Street. But I think it's education that, and again, I think it's up to us blind people to speak out in whatever format we can and just educate people. You see a white cane, somebody at a corner, or with Carl with his dog, you stop. I guess that's the most frustrating part that again, it's just education. Whether, like I brought up before, people asking Bob, do I want it's cream in my coffee? It's education, and people just need to be informed. Because I think overall, people are helpful. They're nice, and if they know, they will work with it too.
A lot of those are like with the white cane, a lot of those are written into our laws, but most of the people run across them so seldom that they don't remember when they took that test when they were 16, that's what it was. And it's just like the stopping for people in crosswalks, same thing.
I'm on Safe Routes to Schools, and we talk a lot about pedestrian safety for sighted people too. So yes, it is definitely a problem in New Ulm, people not observing pedestrian right-of-ways, but yeah.
But it's self-preservation too. You don't step out and you don't take your white cane and walk in front of a car
Right.
hoping they're gonna stop, or walk across the crosswalk hoping they'll stop. I mean, you better be careful because
Yeah,
a lot of people won't.
yeah. Thank you. How about you, Monica?
Ooh, this is a big one for me.
Oh, boy. Can of worms here.
This is really easy. Transportation is the
Transportation.
biggest issue in this community. And the second one, it's not as big, but it's a problem, is the traffic and, like Carl said, pedestrian. One day I was crossing Broadway by Walgreens in 7th North, and the little guy saying walk, walk, walk. I had, because I was working with someone that day, so I had a white support cane in my hand. And the semi was turning right. And probably, Colton, you can't see my hands, about 12 inches apart. That's how close, because I had stepped off the curb, and that semi was like 12 inches away. With that support cane, I hit that truck because I was so mad, because this is what my husband is going to put on my tombstone. She thought she had the right of way. Yeah. But you know what? I did have the right of way.
Yeah.
But that person in that truck never saw me. But I was that close being run over, and it's like, they need to, I don't know, enforce the law more here that pedestrians do have the right of way. Going across center, you're taking your life in your own hands. I can't see the oncoming traffic, so I have to hear. Well, if you have a hearing loss, which I have now too, that's getting more difficult. So yeah, I usually go by the stop and go lights because 99% of the time it's safe. And I love the talking things. I wish we would have more of them in New Ulm, which I think we need. Because people do need to get out and get exercise. But transportation to me is my biggest issue. We, have thought about moving because I can't get to the metro area to go to my one ophthalmologist. I have 3 of them. One's in Wisconsin, well, I don't expect transportation for there. I can't go to Mankato shopping if I'd want to. I can't go out of Brown County with Heartland and Heartland Express. Herman Express are wonderful, wonderful for everybody. But we don't have anything in the rural area. The engineers and the legislatures, we as a National Federation, they've been trying to promote and get transportation in the rural America because we need it. Not only for the people that have a disability as blindness or whatever disability, but for regular senior citizens that can no longer drive. We're isolated, and we have to be more vocal. We have to get something more so we can have the freedom to get from New Ulm to the airport if we want to go on a trip, if we want to go to see a concert at Chanhassen, or if we want to, whatever it is we want to do, we should be able to do that and have the advantage like they have in the metro area. Here in New Ulm, we don't. We can't even get from county to county. Unless they have something new that I don't know about, I don't know. But as far as I know, we can't go from county to county. I can't go to Lafayette if I wanted to. So that for me is the biggest piece, because I only drove for a little portion of my life, which was a miracle. And I loved every minute of it, but then I couldn't again. But, so I had a taste of it, like, you know, Colton, he probably will, maybe he will someday, I hope he does, you know, and miracles do happen. But, you know, it's something you have to get used to, but, and it's not the worst thing in the world. I have a husband, I have great friends, but still, I may just want to do something on my own, and I think that people should be able to have that opportunity like other communities do.
Thank you.
So I said my piece. now.
Yes, appreciate it. We heard. How about you, Colton? Anything you would change?
Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah.
We wrote down a couple notes as well. Monica talked about transportation. So Colton does a lot of work walking with his cane. Just a better understanding of the importance of correct street crossings, sidewalks that aren't lifted up, usually because of tree roots, intersections. Just a couple examples. So at Center and Broadway, it does have the audible for the street crossing, but the Braille signs on them were incorrect. So that was discovered a year ago.
Oh,
It took 50 weeks for the state to change it. We contacted them 4 times, and it was a very easy fix. We offered for Colton to come out to fix it, my husband who works for the city to fix it, but it's a state road. So it took almost a year for them to change the Braille to be correct. Our downtown area is absolutely beautiful, but it lacks truncated domes. So where the sidewalk and the street are, they are level. So a blind person using a cane doesn't necessarily know that the sidewalk has ended and the street has started. There's numerous seams to the streets and sidewalks and curbs in our downtown area, but you can't tell where the seam of the sidewalk has started or ended and you're into the street. So, well, we've been working with the city engineer for over a year to put truncated domes downtown. They do have, so truncated dome is like the bumps on a curb or when the sidewalk slopes down. So some have kind of the aggregate rock, some have the raised bumps and things like that. So they did try at one intersection, I think it's at First North and Minnesota. However, it's not wide enough or long enough for a cane to catch. So we did want to provide that feedback, and when the city put it in, they wanted to also see if it would hold up to snow removal. So as we go into the winter, they're gonna see, does it hold up to the snow removal device that they use for the sidewalks, to see if we can put more down as well. So, and like I said too, just lifted sidewalks and the importance of fixing them, and they're a trip hazard for not only blind people, but other people walking too.
And low branches.
Low branches, oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
We won't have Colton going on that.
Yeah, and I mean, this one's more personal, just like personal things, like for personal properties, but I understand people don't have time, always have time to like cut like the grass and vines off the sidewalk and like bushes, but I do still find that annoying.
We could even go into talking about snow removal and the importance of keeping those sidewalks clear and as you use the sidewalk going into the street as well. So.
And Center and Broadway, just elaborating a tiny bit, it's just 4 Allen screws holding it together. I could probably do that in like 2 minutes.
Probably.
I'm pretty good at unscrewing screws from changing batteries and lots of things, so.
So yeah, just a better understanding of the importance of those things that people might not consider to be as important as somebody that is blind, and they really rely on that.
Carl?
Well, I can echo a lot of the comments that have been made, and my particular bone of contention is with the city snow plowing at the corners. You get such high windrows that you can't cross the street. And a lot of those corners, perhaps seniors live at and can't shovel that high snow out of the way. So the sidewalk becomes unusable. Because I don't care to walk and climb over the windrows. And they're there pretty near all winter. If you have a landlord that doesn't come and shovel where you've got, rental property, the snow's there all winter and it turns to ice eventually. So I think there are, city ordinances that, mandate the sidewalks be shoveled within, I think it's 24 hours of a snowfall, and the city plows. I know those guys are busy when they drive the snowplow trucks and the snow builds up at the corners, and they suggest that essentially is the property owner's issue to clean out. Well, I'm getting to be the age where I can't lift those big snow piles out of the way, and gracious neighbors are oftentimes helpful, but I don't want to have to rely on them all the time. Sidewalks with raised slab sections that are trip hazards certainly are an issue. Low branches are an issue when they take out sidewalks to repair, and they leave it without cement and just the sand there, and you have to step down. Those need to be marked or somehow taped off so we don't walk into them and fall. So this kind of little common sense things. An issue about crossing streets. I've talked with our chief of police, who's always very considerate, and they have run spot checks on intersections a couple years ago, and I think that may be happening again, but certainly a lot of motorists don't seem to understand that when someone's in a crosswalk, they have the right of way.
Yes, they do.
And that's a real concern, especially when I cross at Center and State Street. And I've had similar to what Monica described at a controlled intersection with audible signal. The walk goes on, you hear the walk, and some people are making a left turn and want to beat the light. And it's some close calls periodically, so those are those kinds of, everyday things that occur to folks with blindness that, may not necessarily be an issue for folks that are sighted.
Thank you. Yeah, this is all really helpful information for us as a commission to take back, so really appreciate that. So there are snacks in the back, if you didn't notice that already. The library also put some resources back there. Monica brought in some resources, so please check that out before I ask the final question. And also, once again, extend our gratitude from the commission for all of you guys being here. This has been really, really helpful and really informative, so I appreciate that. We'll start on this end. What is most misunderstood about blindness, and what would you like people to know? So quickly, just what do you think is most misunderstood, Bonnie?
I guess with me, it's everybody assuming that Bob does everything, or people have even said, "Does he dress you?" No, I never. Things, but there again, I think it's up to us as a blind community to educate people. Don't assume that we cannot make our own decisions, that we cannot do things. Don't make those assumptions, because we are doing them, and it's an insult to us when you assume that we don't. That I fight all the time. I'm capable of taking care of myself. People are shocked when they find out I'm home alone, Bob's gone. On a Lions convention, when I was waiting for my transplant, I didn't want to go out of country, and he went to Canada, and they're shocked. Well, no, I can take care of myself. So those things I fight all the time. The assumption that I cannot take care of myself. But again, it's up for me to educate the people that I can.
Thank you. Monica?
I think the most misunderstood thing that I can think of is the white cane. The white cane is not only for totally blind individuals, it's for low vision, it is for legally blind, it is for whatever. It's for the, people that can, it's not only for folks to let people know that they have a visual impairment or that they're blind, but it's also to get assistance. I don't want sympathy, I just want help, I just want understanding that I need help. So like if I walk into Walmart, there's these square pillars that are metal, and they really hurt when you walk into them. But if you have a white cane, you won't. And so I think there's and if I walk up to a counter and I say, could you help me find a card? I need a birthday card. And I don't have my white cane, they'll like, why do you need help? I'm busy. If I have a white cane, it should identify that I need assistance. So in that respect, it helps. But I tell the people, my students in my classes, a cane is my tool. I don't usually need it within, like when I come in the library, because I know this pretty well. I've been here quite a few times. I don't need it in my home because I know that pretty well. I know the community of New Ulm pretty well. There will be a point I will use it all the time. But you get me out of my comfort zone, I will have that cane. But I tell my students, okay, I'll stand in front of them and I'll say, my name is Monica, I do this, that, and whatever. And I put a cane, a white cane in front of me, and I'll say, my name is Monica, I do this, that, and whatever. And I look at them and I say, am I a different person? And not one person has told me yes, that I've changed. I am still me. This is the tool I need, and this is the tool I will use, because this is what I need to get by. Someone taking nitroglycerin, you don't know that they're taking that or they have a heart condition. But someone with a walker, they need assistance. So it's the same kind of thing. Some tools are visual, some tools are not. And you have to use what you need to get by and make your life better.
Thank you. How about you, Colton and Ashley?
We just wanted to thank the Human Rights Commission for inviting us to be here and having us, and to let the community know that you can raise a blind child in the community in which they live. Early on, when Colton was diagnosed as being blind, a repeat question was, are you going to move to Faribault to go to the school for the blind? That wasn't the case for us. We can have Colton in our home school district, and he is really exceeding and doing well. And also that blind people are just as capable as sighted people and living independently and being employed in the community.
Thank you. Carl?
Frankly, I couldn't say it any better than what the panel has already suggested. The insights they've provided are wonderful, and I echo all their statements. I really like what Bob talked about earlier is when you're greeting someone that's blind, it's great to introduce yourself. But I can also ask, who are you? I'm not that bashful anymore at my age. So I don't mind doing that, but it, is something that kind of can keep things moving along smoothly if people are willing to, say, hi, this is Bob. And, I see Bob and Bonnie out and about a lot, and Bob is always so gracious and does that, as does Bonnie. So, they're great examples. And Colton is also a wonderful example, and Ashley, I'm sure, is so proud of him.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys again so much. Wednesday is National White Cane Day, I saw. So this is very timely. This was just serendipitous. And it is also Blindness Awareness Month, October is. So all of that timing worked out really well. So thanks again. We really appreciate it. Let's give a round of applause for our panelists.
All right.